Good morning. We are a sports town, really one of the greatest in the country. And last year, as our seasons were winding down, we were all looking forward to 2020, perhaps back-to-back Stanley Cup, and a run at a 12th World Series. But as COVID-19 shut down our country, it also shut down our professional sports, and then subsequently has impacted our youth sports in our community, which has always been a quintessential part of our summertime activities. One of the challenges in this gradual and cautious reopening of our community is to come up with a plan to allow our youth organized sports to play again. These activities can pose a significant risk to the spread of COVID-19 in our community, depending on how the players group on the playing field. Guidelines that will go into effect a week from today will allow our youth sports to move forward, but we're announcing them today to allow for some planning for those leagues. The risk associated with playing sports depends on the type of sport, the number of players on the field, and of course the spectators that come to show their support. While low-contact sports such as swimming, tennis, track, golf, and skating are already permitted, some sports that have high frequency of contact will now be permitted starting June 29th with some restrictions. However, no tournaments will be allowed at this time. Having our youth travel outside of the St. Louis metro region poses a risk of COVID-19 spreading from our community or even being brought back into our community. The team sports that will be allowed to play starting on June 29th include baseball, softball, soccer, outdoor basketball, outdoor volleyball, cheerleading dance teams, outdoor floor hockey, field hockey, ice hockey, rugby, bowling, and lacrosse. Contact sports not allowed at this time include indoor basketball, tackle, flag, or touch football, indoor floor hockey, martial arts, boxing, basketball, handball, indoor volleyball, water polo, and wrestling. While these high-frequency contact sports are not permitted at this time, we do allow and encourage practicing and skill development as long as they are held outdoors and they follow social distancing guidelines. To allow sporting events to happen safely, it's important that we do not allow team huddles, handshaking, high fives, or any unnecessary physical contact. Organizations and facilities should promote hand hygiene, including hand sanitizers, and to make sure that hand washing stations with soap and water are readily available. Coaches, referees, umpires, and other adults should wear face coverings. Players should have face masks when they're not competing, and spectators should have face coverings as well. Each team should provide their own equipment, and this equipment should be sanitized after individual use whenever possible, and certainly after each inning or period of play. Spectators must stay in groups and otherwise stay 6 feet apart whenever possible. No congregating will be allowed around the playing field or the auditoriums or even in the parking lots. All athletes, coaches, umpires, and players should also undergo a health screening and temperature check prior to starting their practices or competitions. Parents and coaches should assess the health of each player. Some players, some kids may be at a greater risk. For example, kids with asthma or diabetes. Adults, including coaches, referees, or umpires, should also make an assessment of their risk. Individuals over 60, individuals with chronic lung problems, chronic kidney problems, or diabetes should consider delaying participation in these events. In order for our Department of Health to conduct contact tracing investigations, should someone turn up to be positive for COVID-19 at one of these competitions, it's important to keep an attendance list so that our public health department can follow up with any individuals who may have been exposed. Throughout the reopening process, our Department of Public Health has worked with businesses and organizations throughout our community to develop guidelines for safe reopening. Those who run our sports leagues have played an important role in developing the guidelines that we're making available at our website today at stlcorona.com. Now I'd like to introduce you to Eric Eckmeyer, head of the Kirkwood Athletic Association, and thank him for his help in developing these guidelines. Eric, come on up.
Thank you, Dr. Page. As Dr. Page said, my name is Eric Eichmeyer. I'm president of the Kirkwood Athletic Association. We're located on Marshall Road, down by the Merrimack River, which you've probably seen us flood a few times. We've been doing baseball and softball at the Kirkwood Athletic Association for approximately 60 years. This year's been, even with all the flooding we've had, this year's been by far the most challenging year we've had in terms of trying to deal with maintaining the park and, most importantly, keeping players, parents, umpires, those type of folks, our employees safe. That's always our prime consideration. We've been grateful to the help from Dr. Page and his administration in preparing guidelines to help us get back to playing. Baseball and softball have been acknowledged as a high contact sport, so it's been more difficult to get back playing. And some areas obviously still aren't. They've been very helpful with us in terms of trying to work with us with guidelines that are reasonable, but again, keep everybody safe and sound. That's the main priority here, obviously. The biggest differences we're probably going to see this year are the social distancing. We won't have players high-fiving each other or getting in lines after the games like you see the Cardinals do. The other one that's a big one is for umpires and coaches before the game. They have ground rules meetings, and those will just involve coaches. And then trying to keep things, equipment, bats, helmets, balls, sterilized and cleaned as best we can. So again, thank you to Dr. Page and his administration. We look forward to working with them, and we're ready to play ball.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Anyone? No?
Okay. Wait, I got one.
Yes?
There's a major announcement tomorrow about new tech jobs coming to the area. Do you care to make a comment on that?
Well, we're always very excited when we can announce new jobs coming to our region, and we'll give you a lot of details tomorrow about the new jobs that are new tech jobs that are coming to the St. Louis region. But that is a very exciting development. We expect more of those in the future, but the one tomorrow is a really big deal, and I encourage everyone to tune in.
I have one from Channel 5. Is there a concern that St. Louis County will see a spike in cases since other parts of the state saw a 2-day spike over the weekend?
Well, I am familiar with what's happening in southwest Missouri. Most of those are associated with a Tyson production plant, and those are being managed by the public health departments in those 2 counties that surround Joplin. We certainly are aware. What we are happy to see in St. Louis County is that the cases here continue to drop, and that we are
That's a lot of